just as bad as you can imagine. I mean, the vicar of Baghdad, who's come on this program, just said that 4 Iraqi children were beheaded for refusing to convert to Islam, and they said, quote from the vicar, "No, we love Jesus." But. And we saw something similar with Miriam Ibrahim, who's imprisoned and could have lost her life. She was sentenced to death for refusing to renounce her Christian faith.
That's correct.
But in those circumstances, should Christians consider saying what the enemy wants them to say to preserve life?
No, I think we take a stand for our faith. Christians have been martyred, going all the way back to the Romans when they fed them to the lions, and we would be betraying every person who stood for their faith, who stood for Jesus Christ, if we turned our back on Christ.
I am awful and dirty and terrible, and I have these urges.
It's like going to a strip club with 6-year-olds.
I thought kind of all 4 of us were kind of assholes. That's the whole point of the show.
'Tis the season, bitches.
And welcome to Atheist Airwaves, your no-filter look at current news and issues facing atheists and the atheist community. I'm Jay Guerrero.
I'm Jeff Grime.
I'm Christian Ferris.
And I'm Susan Turpin. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by searching for Atheist Airwaves. We record live every Tuesday at 7:30 Central, so if you're listening via podcast, we encourage you to join us in the Ustream chat room and participate in the show.
Our intro audio this week is from the Reverend Franklin Graham, who explains to Christians that they need to let their 4-year-olds get beheaded for Jesus. I just want to say I have $20 that says this guy would be screaming Allahu Akbar within 30 seconds of seeing a machete.
Right there with you.
They were 4-year-olds?
Is it 4-year-olds?
They weren't adults?
Yeah.
No, they were kids.
They were kids.
Or they're 4
just
children.
Completely
anyway.
ruins my entire argument.
And
Whatever.
they love
Since when does killing children ruin any of your arguments?
Okay, it kills the entire argument I can make while on the air.
But I mean, even if you're an adult, I think that you should just lie.
Should, yes, but do I care if you're an adult and you don't lie?
Well, no, it's your choice. But I'm just saying, I think it's hideously stupid to do that.
Well, yeah.
I think there is value in standing up for what you believe in, especially if what you believe in is actually true. But I mean, putting that aside, I think you also have to pick your battles. And if you are a little kid or an adult in a desert-filled town, and the only way anyone's going to know what you did is because someone's going to tell someone else who's going to tell Megyn Kelly on Fox News, and no one's going to believe it. I don't believe it. Then I think your death is of limited value.
I think he probably would stand by Jesus and be killed. The guy who was saying this?
Franklin Graham?
I doubt it.
I don't know who the fuck he is, but...
He's like the son of Billy Graham.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think he would. I really don't.
I think that a lot of people are so staunch and strong in their faith that they would take a bullet to the head.
Do I believe that Franklin Graham is?
Well, I don't know Franklin Graham.
Well, the guys at the top never are. The guys at the top are
That's
the ones
true.
who, hi, I'm Osama bin Laden. I'm not going to be blowing myself up, but you guys.
That's a good point. That's a good point
Yeah.
to make. Yeah.
You do it and you'll be in a better place.
Right. Right.
And I'll counsel other people to be there, but I'm not exactly signing up to go talk to the ISIS leaders.
Yeah. I mean, he's enough of a coward that he'd fold.
Yeah, that's what I think. In my mind, I love it. I'm over here trying to open a beer that's already open. I've been like really
Struggling with it.
I've been struggling with it on the table. I'm like, why won't this open?
Bow chicka bow wow.
In my mind, this guy saying this to Christians everywhere, and I mean everywhere. It's a global channel. There are people who very well could face the choice of, do I, say, oh yes, Allah, I love it, or do I say, no, I love Jesus and lose my head? People are listening to this. I put this at the same level as the Catholic Church telling Africans not to use condoms, the missionary people who are sending Bibles over to North Koreans who are then being summarily executed for owning those things.
Okay. If this is an adult and they say, no, I believe in God, shoot me, do we really care?
Yes.
Why?
Because that's wrong.
Not if they're making the decision of their own volition.
They're not.
Yeah, they are.
No.
Adult?
No. They're not making the decision to be killed. They are making the decision not to bend. The other people are murderers. don't victim.
I agree.
Don't victim
I
blame.
agree. I totally agree. They are murderers.
They totally deserve it, though.
But they have the option to say no and to bend. And if they don't, that's their choice. That's their free will.
But that does not mean that they deserve to be killed, nor does it mean that I shouldn't be concerned that there are people going around saying, believe in what I believe in.
Yeah,
or
that's a totally separate issue. I'm just saying, do I care?
I don't know that you can separate them.
I don't care if an adult says, yes, shoot me, because that's essentially what they're saying.
And as a religious leader, should I be counseling people to not bend?
Yeah.
Should I be counseling people to give up your life?
That's the bad part.
We don't even do that in the Army these days. I mean, I'm not in the Army, but as I understand it, I believe that if they're going to torture you, they say, just tell them.
Just give.
Yeah.
Really?
Because they don't let them know things that are so sensitive that
That's
they'd be able
true.
to give them up.
That's true.
I could be wrong about that. So if anyone thinks
I imagine
I'm
you're
wrong,
right about that until a certain point at which you have certain clearance. If you do have that good bit of information, they probably don't train you to say, yeah, give it up.
I think we're just talking about our asses now. So
Probably. Let's move on to another slightly military-related recap.
sure. So you had something you wanted to say about last week's story on the cops who were training to kill atheist terrorists.
Right.
And I did too. So you go first, Jay.
Okay, so last week I said, and I was outraged by the fact that our military is training with SWAT and are less specialized and not as well prepared for urban combat as SWAT teams. I was pissed off that our military was going to SWAT teams and learning something from them when our armed forces, in my mind, should have been more well-trained.
Okay, I didn't get that out of it, but go ahead.
What did you think I said?
What I thought we were talking about was the fact that that the Marines were going in training with the SWAT team to pick up ideas for operating in urban environments.
Right.
And I think I would reiterate that I think that that's troubling that.
That our SWAT teams
that our military thinks that they have something to learn about fighting combat in urban areas from our police force. I think that's problematic.
And I was on the same page with you. You said
Okay.
it a little bit differently than I did, but it's the same point. And I was absolutely wrong, and so are you.
Okay, please tell me why.
I discussed this with a couple of people who A, have military training, and B, have extensive knowledge of military training.
Okay.
And apparently this has been a thing for quite a long time, because when we started going back into urban combat back in the beginning of this war on terror, our military forces were ill-trained for it and still are to a large degree, because we haven't had many wars, we haven't had many situations since Vietnam where we've had to deal with urban combat. And our SWAT forces, a lot of those are, and our local law enforcement, state law enforcement, is made up of a lot of veterans who have had that training because of things like Vietnam. And apparently this is not and it makes sense. It does.
That makes no sense to me.
How does it not make sense?
Our police force should, if they are trying to get the knowledge from vets who served in Vietnam, that's great. I think that's wonderful. I think that's a good idea. I think that if they think that our police force is so militarized that they are essentially, weapons hot, ready to go, fighting a war in our streets, I think that's
still a problem.
That's the problem I'm talking about.
But they are better at it than our military, which is why our military is learning
but that
from
was
them.
right. But that was my problem.
It's still problematic.
No, but I'm saying that was my problem. It wasn't the other way around. It's that I'm not concerned that the military is learning from the police force. I'm worried that the police force is so militarized that they have something to offer our military. That's a huge problem.
It's terrifying.
It is. It absolutely is. And that's not the point that I'm contending. But our local law enforcement isn't necessarily going... And now, they are having trigger-happy issues, and they have for some time. But when it comes to how to handle urban combat situations, they're better trained, and they are...
They should not be, is the point.
No. They're better trained, and they're better trained to handle it appropriately, because they have to go into urban environments and not kill everybody in a room. They have to go into the urban environment and determine who needs to be killed and who doesn't. And they are better at that than the Marines who just walk in and fucking lay everything to waste.
Okay, so my other concern would be, and this is kind of separate, but you've just kind of linked it, is that I don't believe that our military should be doing crowd control. I don't believe that our military should be performing any duties that isn't lighting people up. if you're not out there to kill people, our military should not be involved. That I firmly believe that, because we need to train our military to kill things, to blow stuff up. If you start trying to train your military to be policemen, that's a problem. That's a problem every bit as much
It's a systemic problem.
as our police force is being trained to be military. We keep them separate because
I agree with you.
Enemies of the military should never be the enemies of the police force.
I agree with you to an extent. It is a systemic problem in that if you look at the war in the Middle East right now and what it has been for the past 10 years, they being our armed forces, are there to eradicate the people who are fighting against us. But they are mixed in, those guerrilla tactics that they're using are mixing them in with people who are innocent, and they need to be able to quickly and efficiently handle the situation wherein there may be an innocent person there and there may be an insurgent or something like that, and they need to be able to figure out how to make that call, the right call.
Well, our
very
police
quickly.
forces obviously don't know how to do that either. So, but let's not belabor this point.
I think they do. Okay. Anyway.
That was a joke. But
Okay.
the one thing that I wanted to mention, because you were talking last week and I was reading the chat room, and so you finished saying something and I went, and had not heard until I was editing. I had not heard what the hell you said,
And what
and I
was it?
want to object to it now. And I actually edited myself out agreeing with you.
Look at Mr. Cherry Picker over here.
What happens when you sit in the big chair? So
Okay,
the
so what
thing
was
you
it?
said was that you thought that what we were talking about was evidence that our media was working with our government hand in hand, and
Absolutely.
I absolutely 100% reject that.
How?
Because I don't think there is any evidence of that. What I think there is evidence that our government knows how to use the media. They are not working together. The government is just being very, very savvy, which is why they data dump on Friday nights, which is why they don't allow, for a long time, they wouldn't allow us, the media, to cover body bags coming home. They aren't working with the media. They are a savvy PR firm.
They're manipulating it.
Yeah.
If the media were not controlled by our government, then we would see those things.
But that's the reason you have Pulitzer Prizes.
Right.
It's sometimes it's hard to dig.
That's true.
It's
That's,
easy.
that's true. I'm not saying that the government is not very, very good at manipulating the media. They are.
Sure.
But the media is not very good at fighting that. And if they aren't actively trying to get the real story out,
They are.
I don't think they are to the extent that they could be.
Well, some of them are, but I think the media has also changed into more of an entertainment thing. And,
It's true, yes.
And they're willing to be led on a lot of it. And that's a failure in the media.
That's the point I'm trying to make right there, is that yes,
Okay,
they
so
may not
just-
be working hand in hand,
Okay,
but they
good.
are not.
That's the only point I want you to back off of, because I think that's a poor point. But
No, I'm not trying to go conspiracy theorist and say there's a plot between the media and the government, but they are helping one another to achieve the same means.
No, they're not helping each
Yes,
other.
they are.
No, they have an inherently combative relationship. They are not working with each other.
In which the media is not doing everything it could to force its way into getting the real
Well, so
information
what's-
into Americans'
So let's
hands.
just talk about, and I don't want to belabor this point either because we talked about this a long time last week, but what would you advise the media to do to get pictures of soldiers coming home in boxes? Do you want them to invade military complexes to get these pictures?
Is there any need to see that? Maybe.
Yes. I mean, there's a reason why the government won't let them. It's because it impacts public opinion. Same thing.
Okay.
I mean, there was a journalist who took a picture during the Iraq War of an Iraqi driver who was in a burned out vehicle and he's half out of the windshield, and no one would publish it. Not because the government said, but they just said, but that sort of thing can affect public opinion.
Absolutely, it can affect public opinion. And when you're saying, soldiers coming home in body bags and things like that, yeah, they may not be able to access some of that, and that's understandable. But when you look at situations like, a lot of the mass protests and things like that are just barely being covered by our media,
But it's
they
because-
absolutely can access that.
But I mean, let me put it to you this way, because on this show, every week when we're looking at news and what to cover, there are times when like the frickin' Pope, at one point we had a sound effect because we were so tired of covering
it's
the Pope.
very cyclic, yeah.
And we just, there are times when we get to the point where this just isn't exciting. It's not new. This has happened before, and that's why we don't cover it on this show. And I think that's probably what it is in the media. It's just there's been a bunch of freaking stories about protests all over the country, and everyone's burned out. It's not exciting anymore.
Right, and a lot of our goal here is to entertain.
Right.
And I think that's what Jeff was saying is that the media is more of an entertainment than a news thing anymore, and it's the same ends.
I agree.
Okay.
There's no conspiracy. They're not working together. All right, so
Just always has to get the last word in, don't you?
Yeah, he does.
well, no, because you agreed with me and then you tried to slip it in again. So I'm just nailing it down. They're not.
I didn't try to slip it in.
I didn't.
If I want it in, I'll put it in.
And I still won't feel it. All right.
That's
So
Pound chicken womp womp.
we got some listener mail this week that I thought we'd read and discuss before we get to news. So if you out there have stories or ideas or information you'd like to share with us, you can email us at god@atheistairwaves.com. Our listener this week, let's call him Nick because that's his name. Nick writes, I had a procedure done today at the VA. Normally I'd assume this procedure would be TMI, but it goes into the thought process, so I'll tell you it was a vasectomy. While getting prepped for the procedure, basically an alcohol rub over the area, and I did not know that they offered that at the hospital, nor that it was covered by military benefits, so that's good to know.
You'd be surprised.
Then taping important parts out of the way of the knife, a very important part. The nurse and I had a conversation to pass the time. The subject came to my kids, 3 of them, boy, girl, boy. She told me God knew what he was doing when he gave me 2 boys. I have no idea what to do with girls. No big deal. I continued the conversation and explained that I was one of 4 siblings, 2 boys, 2 girls, all 2 years apart, making my mom having to deal with dippers, I don't know what the heck that is, and breastfeeding for 8 years. Nurse's response, oh, God bless her soul. A few lines later, there is a special place in heaven for her, which I think is rather weird, automatically talking about my mom's death. She later explains that before the doctor comes in, they will ask me to sign my consent to the procedure before they do anything. And, quote, oh, don't worry. This doctor is almost like God. God is guiding his hand, so there's nothing to worry about.
Wow.
The irony was too much, so I laughed a little, knowing that the God of the Bible wouldn't want me to have this particular procedure in the first place. My first instinct as a non-aggressive new atheist is to at least say something about me being an atheist, just to let someone know that I don't share their belief. If a conversation starts from that, I have no problem talking with them about my beliefs. In this case, however, this person and the doctor were going to be working on a very intimate part of my body, so I didn't want anything to go wrong. I don't really think that she would do anything purposely, but I'm also not willing to chance it. I have heard crazier things being done in the name of the Lord. Okay, so it's a long email, and it gets longer, and I'm going to read more of it, but let's break there first. So this first issue, normally in any circumstance when this stuff comes up, I might ignore the first comment the way he did and just whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
Unless I had like something really funny to say in response, and then I just let that go. But if it keeps going, then usually I'll interject something. Usually something like, actually, I'm an atheist, or something along those lines. Not angry, not you're so stupid and why are you dumb. But if they're about to start cutting on my junk, I think I'm gonna let that go.
I agree. That's one where you just keep that light. You know, she's been alcohol swabbing your balls and taping other parts of you up. Yeah, no. I smart choice there.
That's a good call.
Yeah, I agree.
I would have gone with that one.
There are times when it's okay to not be an out atheist, and
Just like in our intro audio. If at some points, if they ask you if you're an atheist, it's if they've got a knife to your balls, you can say,
Pick your battles.
Allahu Akbar. I mean, I would.
Right there with you.
I'm okay with that. I don't think there's anything hypocritical about that. I think pick your battles.
and then once he's done,
Once you're being discharged, I'm an atheist.
Stuff me back in. Then we're cool.
Well, I mean, this lady was just making her Christian privilege so amazingly apparent because she just automatically assumed that he was going to be okay with her saying this sort of stuff, and it's annoying.
And that is Christian privilege. I mean, Christians don't have to worry about hiding their beliefs or their identity while someone is about to cut their balls open. Yeah. I don't know how many people are faced with that, scenario, but as a Christian, you can pretty much have anyone swab up your balls and no problems. All right, so Nick's email continues. Just thought I'd share this experience with you guys. Major big deal to me is that the VA is a government institution, so I would think their employees paid with tax dollars should be a little more impartial while completing their duties in an official capacity. So what do you guys think? Is there a First Amendment issue here?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't think that's really where it is. I think if it was a matter of a teacher and a student, then it's something. It is kind of weird having the nurse who's, alcohol swabbing your balls doing it, but I that's just not something that I think that they're going to bring up in a VA clinic.
No, and he has the option to go elsewhere.
Sure.
I don't think that really makes a difference. I don't think, that makes no difference to whether it's a First Amendment issue or not. If you have a government entity who is why are you pointing at
Because she was about to say something. I was queuing.
No. I was just going to say he might not necessarily have another option if he's going to the VA. Sometimes they don't.
For your
You can go to
Well, for a vasectomy, maybe you'd have other options. Probably.
Well, that's going on a
it
side
really
tangent.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter because if
Yeah,
it's a
I think
violation of the
everyone's
First
sure.
Amendment, whether you have another school you can go to doesn't matter. Whether you have another
That's true.
county,
That's true. You're right about that.
So I don't think that really matters. I think it's definitely inappropriate. I work for the state government, and I would discourage anyone working for me from assuming that the people they're talking to are share their beliefs. But I don't think they're not really. She wasn't really proselytizing. She wasn't promoting her religion. She was more just.
She was showing her privilege.
She was expressing her own opinions about her religion. She was talking nonsense in a religious. She was
making small talk, and it
Yeah.
happened to be about God.
And that's what they do in that situation. I've had a vasectomy, so I'm intimately familiar with this situation. And my conversation was like with the urologist, and he's talking kind of like one professional to another, but at the time he's fondling my balls and and the incision. It's they don't even really cut. Now, or at least maybe at the VA clinic they do, but mine wasn't like a slice. It's a little tiny, pokey thing, and they pull out other parts. And the whole time the dude's talking to me, and I'm like,
Focus.
I'm going to go ahead and give some.
No.
Well, no. It's like it's meant to numb, and it's like that doesn't feel great. But do you feel it? Yeah, I feel it. I can feel a tug. Well, you shouldn't feel that. And then he was really, really weirded out that I wasn't feeling nauseous. And he asked me that like 12 times during the procedure. So you're not feeling nauseous? That's really weird. And but the strangest thing
Not
about
what I
it
want
is
to hear when
this-
somebody's playing with my balls.
the urologist is considering doing his own vasectomy because he'd heard somebody else doing it, and I'm like, I can see that being something that's possible.
Save some money.
Well, I think he was wanting to do it just kind of for fun.
Yeah, I would if I was in a position.
He was like,
Funsies vasectomy? That just
I
doesn't
get how this
seem-
goes. I trust myself.
I totally would.
And really, it was, pull this out and go.
I'm gonna pass out.
How much more of a badass can you be? I gave myself a vasectomy.
The most uncomfortable thing about it, honestly, was the fact that I had another guy, fondling my balls. It just was not really that much fun in that capacity, and have some guy talking to me while I had my pants down.
That's what I was going to say, though, is that probably much of what this nurse was telling him was because it's uncomfortable to be swabbing. Well, maybe she's used to it after so many years. But for me, if I'm like alcohol swabbing someone's junk down, that's an awkward situation. And who knows what the hell would come out of my mouth.
I like how Jay and I just look at each other.
You can't get anything past me and Turf in that.
No.
So I once had to go to the doctor to get some tests
You
done.
only had to go to the doctor once. That's pretty good.
Lucky.
And instead of asking, this is a male doctor, and instead of asking me to, remove my pants, he tells me to lay back on the table and proceeds to take my belt off and then unbutton and unzip my pants and pull the fucking pants down for me.
You got seduced, man.
That was
Not
the
even-
creepiest thing ever.
He didn't even get dinner and a movie beforehand, man.
Oh, and then he stuck a giant Q-tip down my dick.
Oh, that's So, was this for an STD?
that was.
I was getting
an
tested for an
STD
STD,
test,
yeah.
Okay.
Let me just go ahead and say, I am really, really glad that I do not have testicles. Jesus Christ.
They're really kind of useless.
Unless you're wanting to make babies. Well, I mean,
I guess.
testosterone. But
Well, I mean, it's also easier for a guy to get a vasectomy.
way easier.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in terms of that, yeah. That's in terms of a permanent birth control solution.
Well, kind of, sort of. So, I mean, the last part of his email is about that. And let me read the rest of this letter, and then we'll talk about it. Side tangent. I know you all talk about different humanist decisions, so I wanted to bounce some ideas off of you. I did a lot of research in deciding that I would be the one to get the procedure and not my wife. After doing so, I did notice a lot of my male friends have very interesting objections to the procedure. Some of the objections are rooted in outdated ideas of manliness or special pleading on their part for their private parts. First, you done doing your bong in the
What?
Super
I
loud,
thought
dude.
you were choking.
No.
Over here?
Yeah, it's super loud.
You can hear that?
I could hear it.
Wow. Sorry.
Right.
Makes you sound like Darth Vader.
Some of the objections are rooted in outdated ideas of manliness or special pleading on their part for their private parts versus their wife's private parts. Though technically, it's not your wife's private parts. It's, the
Internal parts.
yeah.
Your parts are private no matter where they are.
Not my parts. And definitely not your parts. Jay's parts are all over the internet.
If you make them public, it's different.
So he says, I wanted to list my thought process below to some of their objections and get your opinion on them. Number 1, yes, there will be pain and discomfort, but compared to being pregnant and giving birth to 3 kids, my pain is null and void. I feel like this is apples and oranges, personally.
I agree. I have to say it was not that uncomfortable.
Really?
Recovery was not bad. I'd read stuff like, it feels like a mule kicked you. No, it doesn't.
Well, I got to say,
Guarantee it doesn't.
So first of all, I'd say you wouldn't want to compare the pain of a vasectomy to the pain of childbirth.
Yes,
You'd want to compare it to a tubal ligation. Mm-hmm. And in doing some research, and again, I'm not a doctor, but in doing some research before the show, the first thing that I came across was 20% of men who undergo this procedure end up with chronic pain, which means severe pain that lasts 3 months or much longer. And I don't think that, and I didn't see any of that for tubal ligation. So,
Well, I am a doctor, and I say 20 to 30%. No, I'm kidding.
so that's really weird. Let's see. Another weird fact, this isn't really relevant, it's just interesting, is that the body in 60 to 70% of men who get vasectomies develops an allergy to sperm. That it produces antibodies because, during apparently the sawing or whatever they do, that there is some sperm that's released and the body starts identifying it as,
As it
So, again,
invasive.
Wow, that's really bizarre.
it doesn't really apparently cause any problems, but it's just a weird fact. So,
So does it kill off your own sperm? Or what?
well, you stop producing sperm, so it doesn't matter.
You continue producing it.
There's no way
It just
for it to
doesn't
get out.
get out. Yeah.
Released, yeah.
They're just like, let us out. let
And
us
sometimes that is supposed to actually cause some pain. The fact that, it's
a backup,
there
man.
and it won't go. Yeah.
Well, Gilman points out in the chat room, I heard the money shot is not the same.
out. Well, that would go without saying, right? I mean,
No.
Yeah.
Well, wait. We have someone who knows.
No, seriously, you're and I saw this before. I did the research too. It's less than 1% of what a normal ejaculation is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, almost all of it comes from the prostate gland.
I did not know that. I would not have guessed that at all. Because I would have guessed that what was coming out of the prostate gland was just the clear stuff and then all
No,
the...
it's not just clear.
Okay, interesting. I learned something today. All right. So that's apples and oranges. His second point is condoms pulling out and avoiding sex during certain times of the month are not foolproof. A mistake could result in a pregnancy and later possibly an abortion. This has a larger effect on the woman than the man, and I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. But I would also say that vasectomies are not 100% foolproof.
Yeah, no,
Sure.
they're not.
Absolutely not.
And neither are tubal ligations. So, but I do agree that pregnancy would affect a woman more. An abortion definitely would
Yeah,
affect
absolutely.
a woman more.
I think it's much more feasible for the male to have this procedure done than a female. And on the topic of efficacy, it's much easier to test whether or not it worked for a man than it is for a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's true.
And that's
Well,
exactly what they do.
Well, except that it can grow back, it can heal, and you may not know to test that.
But normally that comes within 6 months. So they test like shortly
It comes
thereafter.
within 6 months.
Hope it'd be quicker than
It
that.
comes much earlier than that.
Like that would leave you awfully sore. 6 months.
They advise waiting a week. They advise that anyway.
So this kind
What
of
happens when you don't?
Jeff
Pain?
knows.
It felt pretty good.
I mean, duh.
It was kind of like an orgasm.
Very similar.
How worried were you that first time? Is there
Not
any
very.
concern? No.
No.
After a while, you're just
not
like,
really
fuck
at
it,
all.
okay.
I mean, I think the point of that was like, don't be too vigorous with it for a week.
Don't slam it in a door, that kind of thing.
Okay, so he gets to the point where he says the vasectomy is a lot more complicated with the female than the male. So a tubal
Not a
ligation
vasectomy,
versus
yeah.
a vasectomy. They have to go through muscle and more tissue to get their tubes. For males, most of their plumbing is outside and easily accessed. And I would say yes, except that a lot of tubal ligations happen while they're doing other things.
Yeah.
You know, like C-sections
C-sections, yeah.
and stuff. So I think that for me, the decision, my wife and I have talked about this for a while. I'm not all that keen about going through any of what you just described, Jeff. Like, I'm not
Can they
all that-
knock you out for it? if they could knock you out for a vasectomy, would you be more willing to go through it?
I would be more willing to do
Really?
it.
Dude, as soon as my insurance kicks in, bam, there.
You're lying.
Fuck
Okay,
no.
whatever. Okay, so I'm just saying, if we were going to do it, we would have done it when she was, giving birth to our son, and then it would have been a twofer. So
Sure.
uh,
I drove
Did you get a
myself home.
discount?
It was.
you're brave.
It was not bad.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if I thought that I couldn't, I wouldn't have. But I drove myself home. It was no problem at all.
Hell, I might just go on YouTube and figure out how to do it myself.
Can we do it in a post show?
Fuck it, why not? Everybody else has seen my balls already.
Rev, can Jay do a vasectomy in your house? It was barely even
He didn't hesitate at all.
it was more of a hesitation, like, why are you even asking? Of course.
On next week's post show,
Just make sure you put a disclaimer at the bottom. Do not try this at home unless you're stupid like Jay.
so next point.
Last point he makes is, I think manliness, etc., are outdated terms, so I'll use human. It doesn't make me any less of a human because my stuff was disconnected. If anything, it makes me more of a human. I want to do this in place of my wife, and I would agree with him. I think the decisions are a lot more complicated than he's presenting. I mean, it wasn't a treatise on anything, but I'm just saying, I think there are good reasons why a woman would have a tubal ligation over a man getting a vasectomy, but ultimately, I think that you should disconnect it from your gender.
Yeah, and just in defense of him potentially getting flamed for that last one, he does go on to say that each relationship is different, but for the most part, he would suggest, he would tell husbands that to human up and get it done out of respect for your significant other.
I like that.
I do too.
Yeah.
And guys, this is the kind of stuff we want to hear from you. If you have stories or questions or whatever you want to talk about, please email us at god@atheistairwaves.com. You might wind up on the show. We might wind up telling you you're an idiot or agreeing with you or...
Or both. Yeah. ¿Por qué no las dos?
Gilman M says in the chat room, I have a friend that got his wife pregnant 2 months after having it done. And that's, they tell you to use condoms for that first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that's his own bad.
Yeah. But I can understand why. I can see that happening a lot. People are really dumb, and I don't mean that as an insult to his friend, because I can totally see me doing that
do.
too. Jay means
Took us
it
a
as an insult to Gilman's friend, but for me, I can totally see myself doing it because I'm stupid. Like all humans are stupid. It's like I just got a vasectomy. What the hell? Who expects that you have the kind? Well, I expect that I have the kind of ninja balls that would like reconnect and like all Terminator style. Just no. Sorry, Turpin.
I'm with Turpin on this one. Wow. Let's move on.
Let's break before we start with news.
We're going to break?
It's 8:06.
Okay. Well, Corpus Christi Atheist meets every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. This weekend, we're going to be at B&J's off of SPID, B&J's Pizza. If you don't know where that is, please visit ccatheist.com for a list of our public events. You can connect with our sister organizations via southtexascor.com.
All right. We have some Christmas news for everyone since it's practically Christmas, or it could actually be Christmas, depending on how long it takes me to edit this. First up, Bill O'Reilly has finally declared victory in the war on Christmas, and I've got audio of his victory speech. Hang on for that.
You talk about the war on Christmas. You're sort of the Paul Revere for the war on Christmas.
We won the war on Christmas.
You won, so it's
we
official.
Won.
Christmas is fine.
And
It
this
made
is true. This is the only year, I've been doing this for about 10 years, the only year we have not had a store that commanded its employees not to say Merry Christmas. It's over. We won.
Congratulations.
Anybody can say Merry Christmas if they want to. They don't have to.
Yeah.
I'm not like Stalin.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not like that, but I'm very happy. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
I kind of feel like his objective has changed. It used to be that everyone should say Merry Christmas because Jesus is the reason for the season, and this is all about Christ's birth. And now he's
it's just like, hey, you can if you want to. Nobody's saying you can't.
And I don't think anyone ever said that.
He changed his goalpost to accommodate ratings and what he could what he could accept as a win.
He wanted to spike the football and go home for the holidays instead of sticking out in the trenches like us good atheists. We never leave Battlefront. But he he moved the goalposts, and I don't think maybe I should ask. I don't think any of us would say that people should be forced not to say Merry Christmas to anyone.
No,
I agree.
I think I would encourage people to be more aware of the fact that lots of people, 1 in 4 at least, do not share your Christian faith. Whether they're Jewish or Muslim or atheist or silly agnostics.
I went and had dinner with some friends right before the show, and as I was leaving, checking out, the waitress, receipt cashier, whatever person, said
The money changer.
Yeah, the money changer. She looks at me. She goes, "Okay, have a happy Christmas or Merry Christmas." And I kind of paused, like I always do, and I was just like, "Don't say it." And she goes, "Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa," and I was like, "Good on you, Merry Festivus." And walked away.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was refreshing. She was like, "Maybe it's something else." Oh shit.
No, I like that because I haven't had anything. I've only had one person say Merry Christmas to me this year, and it was the bell ringer at the Salvation Army kettle at Walmart.
Did you spike the kettle?
Boy.
No, I was just like
BAM!
I was just death ray all the way up, death ray while they talked to me, and death ray as I walked away. I was just like, I'm not talking to you. I'm open. I mean, I guess that's rude, but
No, fuck no, it's not rude.
I'm not berating them and yelling at them, but I'm also not going to interact with those people.
No.
That's the easiest and most, I guess, kind, passive way to express your disdain.
But I usually, if someone wishes me happy, Merry Christmas, I usually say Happy Holidays back, and it's not like, an attack on them. It's just this is how I choose to greet people during the holidays. And I had one person at HEB in the Bluff who said Merry Christmas, and said, "Oh, Happy Holidays," and they stopped and they were holding my receipt and they wouldn't let it go, and they're like, "Merry Christmas." I was like, "Yeah, Happy
That's
Holidays."
creepy.
And they're like, "Merry Christmas."
Really?
Yeah. And I was like, "Happy Holidays? What is the problem here? Can I just go?"
Like
Do
you're-
you remember which cashier this was?
Oh, yeah, right. It was
that this
no,
year?
it was last year.
Oh, last year.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like I said,
man.
no
I was
one's
gonna say,
really-
dude, I will go back. I will find that cashier. I will go through that line. I will find
Repeatedly,
something. I will
over and
time
over
and
and
time.
over.
find something that adds up to $6.66 now. Just for the sake, because I actually had to talk to a friend a couple of days ago. Said,
Sorry to hear that.
said, yeah, I was walking out and I dropped a buck in the red kettle, and I was like, you should not do that. And I'm bad at explaining shit, and I'm not up to date. I just know you shouldn't. Would somebody tell her why? She's listening.
Oh, okay, good. It's because they actively promote discrimination around the world. They will discriminate against people who come into their shelters. Not even just lesbians, gays, bisexuals, and transgender people, but they have really weird sexual things where there is a family this year who was kicked out because I'm gonna forget
Because of the daughter was 13, so she could stay with her mother on the mother's side, and the son was 15. So the son was too old to stay with the mother and the sister on the women's side,
Right.
but too young to stay by themselves on the men's side because they were afraid that some kind of deviance would get him.
That the sex would happen
Yeah.
and whatever. And it's like, this is the result of that stuff. And they have actively taken your donations and supported discriminatory laws. The one I can think of off the top of my head is a discrimination law in New Zealand that they were throwing all kinds of your money at. So when you give them money, you are supporting a charity that actively discriminates against gay people, transgender people, and weirdly against families with children who are the wrong age for the sex hang-ups that they have. It's awful. They're a church. Don't give money to churches, but they do weird stuff with it.
Yeah, it was, and I think it was any boy between the ages of
Probably
13 and 18.
Yeah,
I think
13 and 18.
It was a gap there, and it was only the boys. Mm-hmm. And it didn't. In that case, even the father was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was.
My God.
The father was there. It wasn't a matter of him being alone. It was a matter of the boy
They
being the
just
wrong
can't have him
age.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, and what changes after 18?
Absolutely nothing.
I
And
mean-
they're making the assumption that it is only men that are some kind of sexual deviance as well.
Are you going to confess something here, Turpin?
Guys, I have something to tell you.
I knew it.
Is it good or is it bad? Or is it good
This
in a bad
makes for
way?
a great post show.
Yeah, save it for the post show. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Patreon.com/Atheist Airwaves if you want to hear what Susan Turpin is all kinds of deviant about.
Please do. Okay, so are you ready to move on?
Sure.
Okay, so we've got some audio for this particular story, but just to give you a quick recap or a quick post-cap or pre-cap or whatever the fuck it is, I really do like it when religious leaders make atheist points in their own words. It makes me happy. This story that we're going to play some clips on is out of Harlem, Georgia, and basically a pastor decided that he's going to wage his own little war on the season, more specifically Santa. His church billboard now reads, or at least did read at one point, "Santa is Satan." I love it. You want to play that first clip for
I'll
us?
play the first clip.
Okay.
We believe that Santa Claus is robbing Christ of his glory. We have come to the point where we have replaced Jesus Christ in his birthday with a fictitious character named Santa, and we've lifted him up instead of lifting up the Savior.
Fictitious.
Fictitious. I love it. I don't even really, I kind of understand where he's coming from. And to a certain
No,
point,
I get it.
If I didn't have a disdain for Christmas in general, I'd almost be happy about his point.
No, I totally get what he's saying because he's upset because people are celebrating a fictional character on Christmas instead of Jesus.
Instead of another fictional character.
He's pissed some people off.
Oh, yeah, he has. So in this next clip, he talks about the reaction because the Christians in the area are not happy.
No.
His message went beyond his congregation when folks noticed their church sign, and the reaction is not what Carruthers expected.
Oh no, not by 100 miles. It's amazing to me that people would get this upset over a fictitious creature.
Fictitious
I
creature.
love that.
The best.
I love how he's a creature now. Fictitious creature.
Fictitious.
It's good stuff. The best part is really to come. This is where he makes the point that we've all, at some point or another, at least most of us have gone, but do you not see the difference?
Right.
Go ahead with the clip.
This last part is the best. This is the vasectomy money shot.
Show title.
They grow up believing in Santa Claus, they grow up believing in the Easter Bunny, and they grow up being taught in some homes Jesus Christ. Well, when they get older, they find out that Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, and Santa Claus ain't real. So what about this fourth person called Jesus?
What about him? What about him?
Wow.
Bam.
Exactly. You're almost there. You've almost gotten it. Like 3 out of 4. I feel like this guy could get he could get 100% on this quiz.
That's good enough to win like $1 million on that show, isn't it? Like
Like 100,000. Yeah,
100,000.
Thereabouts.
Yeah.
He's
Just-
that close to like the $1 million.
You could just go the extra step and be there.
But seriously, the point is what we've been making for a long, long time. There is no difference.
Right.
It's a fictitious creature, no matter how you got it.
Fictitious creature.
I love that. I wish I knew how to spell fictitious. But I want to say, he says it's amazing to him that people get this upset over a fictitious creature. And I freaking agree with that too, because it's amazing to me that people are cutting off kids' heads and discriminating against people in their communities, ostracizing people, throwing their kids out of their homes because of fictitious gods.
It's discriminating. Don't you get it wrong.
I just love when theists get a glimpse of themselves in the mirror and they still don't realize that it's a reflection that they're looking at. You're looking at yourself right now.
Easter Bunny, Santa, and the Tooth Fairy are totally ridiculous, but I swear, guys, swear Jesus is real.
I mean, I would just ask him, so why do you think that if they thought that the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy aren't real, why do you think that they would then think that Jesus wasn't? Is it because they all share some similar characteristics? Like there's no evidence for them. They do stuff that is magic and can't actually normally be done by normal reality. It's because they're all the same.
I don't know.
That's why he's upset.
Wasn't there a commercial with the rabbit shitting an egg?
The Cadbury Bunny?
Yeah. There's evidence right there.
So, moving on. In more Christmas, this isn't even Christmas, this is more like Hanukkah news. Springfield, Massachusetts is the home of the largest annual menorah lighting in the country, but this year was particularly hilarious due to the attendance of Christian and city councilor Bud Williams.
Bud.
He believes in a fictitious creature. So our good friend Baptist Bud decided he was going to get up to speak at the gathering of over 150 people celebrating Hanukkah to remind them that Jesus is actually the reason for the season. Later, when asked why he was being such a dick in the middle of someone else's event, he said that he didn't mean any offense and that he wasn't trying to assert religious superiority or dominance. But come on, dude, that is exactly what he was doing. He whipped out his Christian dick and marked their menorah as his territory. I mean, he was doing like the alpha dog domination.
That's
routine.
a very vivid image right there.
It's been that kind of show, so
I like it.
We know you do, Turpin.
Yep.
Stay tuned for more in the post show.
She's going to
See
admit
what
that she's a
else I
lesbian.
like.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert, Susan's not a lesbian. Sorry, Hecky.
So he apparently got confused during one of the rabbi's speeches. He was talking about a light 2,000 years ago. The rabbi was talking about, the miracle of the menorah, which was, they only had consecrated oil for 1 day, but then the oil burned for 8 instead, which gave them enough time to make more magic olive oil instead of just the regular stuff that was lying around everywhere. So I'm sure that they weren't just sneaking more stuff in there. Anyway, this is what passed for a miracle. But he thought that because of his Christian privilege, he thought they must be talking about Jesus. It's a light 2,000 years ago. And had to get up there and talk about Jesus being the reason for the season.
Anybody kick him in the balls?
Not that was reported.
Damn.
But, I mean, there's still time. So if anyone's going to Massachusetts.
Did anybody...
I'd rather not.
Okay, never mind.
So he also said that he thought his remarks added something to the ceremony. And I guess...
The asshole factor?
Yeah. Right? I mean, thanks for the content. We're talking about it. So, I mean, you added newsworthiness to it, but that's about it. He said that several rabbis came up to him to thank him for his comments. But I really think it's one of these things. What he heard was, and this is what he said, quote, "Great comments, bud." But I think they actually said it was probably more like, great comments, bud.
Yeah.
His sarcasm meter is broken.
Yeah, exactly.
That happens when you're so full of yourself and so full of Jesus. Yeah, full of Jesus. We'll go with that.
Fair enough.
Cool.
One last bit of Christmas news, I think, before we can move on to something less depressing.
Less depressing. So the fire department in Utica, New York has already been told by the Freedom from Religion Foundation that its sign that says, "Happy birthday, Jesus, we love you," is indeed a violation of the Constitution. They were told that last year.
Andrew Seidel already told you!
It wasn't Andrew Seidel.
Andrew Seidel's buddy already told you!
Andrew Seidel by association. However, it seems that Chief Russell E. Brooks really doesn't give a damn because the fire department is now selling shirts that have the same message but have Fire Department Utica, New York on them, making them an officially licensed way to wish you Merry Christmas while saying nanny nanny boo boo to the First Amendment.
I can kind of see why this is a little bit cloudy for them, because this is not the typical thing we're looking at. Like what we were talking about before, where like it's very, very clear to me that if you have my 4 through 12, 16, 18-year-old, that promoting religion in your government office is not okay. This is a little less strictly clear for me, but at the same time, unless they're going to start, I mean, it's a Christians only club, and it becomes a promotion of Christianity because no one is going to put up Happy Hanukkah, no one's going to put up Kwanzaa, Winter Solstice, Festivus. None of that's getting put up.
So yeah, I mean, from a workplace perspective, it does become a hostile. Potentially becomes a hostile workplace. Sure. The other thing is that the original display that was under criticism was it was in a public place and it wasn't a public forum.
Right.
So I get it.
Well,
but
it's go ahead.
Well, and whenever they got the letter last year, it was from Rebecca Margaret. She is an attorney for the FFRF. I'm sorry, it's not Andrew Seidel. Chief Brooks sent back a letter saying that he totally got the okay from the Thomas More Law Center, which admits that the intent of the firm in the Christmas season is to defend Christmas from the many assaults brought against it.
I thought they already won that. Didn't Bill O'Reilly already tell me that this was all done?
I really thought it was. And Bill O'Reilly never lies.
What is even more galling is that really the response from not just this fire department, but fire departments all over the area and all over the country has been to copy them and put up their own Christians only club stuff. So I mean, it's kind of made really it's a target-rich environment now. If the Freedom from Religion Foundation or anyone else wants to sue, all you got to do is have one atheist firefighter. Mm-hmm. Just one, or a Jew.
Or, anybody of any other faith.
Anybody of any other faith. All you got to have is one, and you're done. All of you are done.
It's funded by the people, generally. It's a state-funded thing, or a city-funded thing.
City,
rather.
Yeah.
Right.
Some kind of government funding.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the two different sides to it. I think any fire department that does this opens themselves up to bad employment ones. The other constitutional challenges can be brought. It's like, a public forum one, not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. In that case, it was a crappy little sign, But I think any smart city attorney on this would be advising them, guys, fucking stop it.
What if it were a volunteer fire department that isn't completely?
They only receive
funded.
Donations. Volunteer fire departments, if I remember correctly,
I don't think that's
some
true.
do get. They're partially funded by donations and partially funded by the.
So the firefighters are volunteers, but their equipment is paid for by the government.
Like the Flower Bluff volunteer fire department that lives over where the studios used to be in Flower Bluff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, their equipment, like he's saying, is paid for by.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that.
From the government.
Yeah. Okay. And so, like I said, I have no problem whatsoever with these guys expressing their religious ideas and beliefs. I have no problem whatsoever. It's just when you mark it with the imprimatur of the state, which is the front of your damn building, then we have a problem. And it's not a war on Christmas. It's not a war on Christianity. It's a war on people who violate our Constitution. And that's what, and I think I get it, especially in these small towns where they don't feel like, these are probably all right-wing Christian conservative
upstate New York
goofballs who are like, anti-big government people. And they would all, like to a single person, they would probably all fall over dead if they realized that they were government workers. They probably don't even know.
So on the same kind of token with the Christmassy stuff, since we're going to get off of it, I have a question. What is the craziest Christmas tradition you've ever seen or heard of?
Pain Olympics.
What?
Do not Google that. What I just said, just forget I ever said it.
Well, now we can. Jay.
That's post-show.
Jay.
That's post-show.
Your assignment.
Done. Gotcha.
Jay will be able to handle it.
No, but seriously.
No one else should
Anybody ever heard of anybody baking Jesus a birthday cake?
Nope.
No.
I have a friend whose grandmother does it every year.
And what does she do with it? I mean, does she eat Jesus' birthday cake? Because that's kind of crappy.
I'm pretty sure they eat Jesus' birthday cake as a celebration.
See, if that was my birthday and other people were eating my birthday cake when I wasn't there, I'd be pissed.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
I
Same
mean,
here. Well, he's there in spirit.
yeah.
Do they turn it into his body?
Transubstantiation.
They turn
with
it into
cake.
shit.
They're cutting into it and she's like,
Now wait a minute. Would it have to be Angel's food cake though?
Oh.
Or could you have Devil's food?
oh my God. So stay tuned for post show when I'm going to do something really awful to Susan for that joke. That is like the worst thing I've ever heard.
I would stick my dick in it personally.
In that joke.
Remind me to tell you about the fish guy. It reminds me of the fish guy that I just read about on the way over here.
Okay, so Fish Guy and Pain Olympics in post show.
Well,
stay tuned.
And we got other things because I also
we're not even there yet. I'm just prefacing. Okay, yeah.
Okay, let's move on
Can
to some more.
Let's get off of Jesus. Unless that's your thing. Okay, so
It might be this guy's thing.
it's that time again. It's time for hypocrisy, because that's what they do. Okay, so one might say that the name Gaylord Williams is a fitting name for this Indiana pastor.
I know there's nothing ironic about that.
Not the slightest.
He's one of the many anti-LGBT assholes who preaches against homosexuality on Sunday, but runs around the park looking for guys who want a nice holy handshake on his off time. On December 12th, he got caught when he asked the wrong guy to roll down his window and then reached in and grabbed his junk.
Like you do.
And apparently, after stealing third base, he offered to finish the rando off, but was denied and reported.
He was thrown out at home.
Caught it just in time.
I do want to say that there are some conflicting reports here because some of the reports said that he was offering this guy oral sex, and other reports were intimating that he was asking this guy to give him oral sex. And I find the latter easier to believe because that's the way dudes roll.
That's not necessarily true. That's definitely not necessarily.
Well, you have more experience in like park hookups than I do, so maybe.
That's not true. You have no evidence.
This is true, but I know. I don't even have to have evidence.
He feels it.
I'm sitting.
Does he? Earlier he said he couldn't feel it. Now you're saying he does feel it? He's giving conflicting stories.
I'm in my Pope chair. Everything I say when I'm in my Pope chair is true.
Oh, that's horrible.
Okay, so what was the excuse that he gave to the police? So the guy called and said, "Dude, get the hell off my junk."
And then he said he was allegedly he acted like he was pulling a gun.
Yeah, because he's a badass. So I don't. I
mean,
believe
which
that part
gun?
Either. Okay, so the guy runs away, but he gets his license plate number and calls the cops. The cops pull him over. What was the story he told the cops?
Okay, so the cops pulled him over, and I know for a fact that when they searched his car, they found a DVD containing gay porn. And the guy said, "No, it's not mine. I'm messengering it for a friend."
Yeah.
But he also said it came as a promotional item that came to the church office in the mail.
And that is the only part of his story that rings true to me. Because if I were in the business of producing gay porn, I would send all of my promotional materials to churches and pastors. Those are the guys who are going to want more.
True.
So you give them a little taste, and then, they're going to learn from this guy that you can't go get more from the park. You got to, order
Everybody else can find their gay porn on the internet.
Yeah.
They all have special blocks.
You know what? He's old. He's got to, he's not used to the technology. I completely understand that he's got to go old school.
Damn you, net nanny. But does anyone know what he told the cops that what he was actually,
I don't.
I think he was saying something like he was looking for a buddy of his who was fishing. I was like, okay.
All right. Then
That's awesome.
I mean, is this the first time he's done it? Do you think it's the first time he's done it?
Oh, hell no.
Or
No.
this time he got caught?
Well, because here's the other hilarious thing is that the cops were questioning him, and it's like, they asked him this question. They said, have you ever committed sexual battery before? And I think he thought they meant sodomy, because the answer he gave them was, well, I experimented with gay sex when I was in college. So no, this isn't.
No, it totally counts. He's a born again virgin. It's okay.
Born again virgin.
Can you regrow your? Okay.
Good job on abandoning that one. Oh my god.
Not talking about
Sorry.
foreskin.
I pulled a clip on this one just because it cracked me up.
You pulled a what?
I pulled a clip.
Oh, clip.
Okay, so this is a guy who knows Gaylord and lives in his community, talking about him getting arrested.
I never seen him do anything wrong like that, but if he did, it's kind of messed up.
Let's listen to that one more time. Hold on, I want to hear that
Seen
one.
him do anything wrong like that, but if he did, it's kind of messed up.
Well,
I love it
yeah.
I love it when they talk like this and
know,
like
right?
that. It
Hey, it's a
sounds great.
fictitious creature.
He almost sounds like that dude from Sling Blade.
That's kind of messed up.
Yeah, Sling Blade.
So yeah, this just in breaking news. Jethro tells us that committing sexual assault on a guy in a park is kind of messed up. I gotta go with Jethro on this one.
I mean, I completely agree with the guy. I might go for a little bit stronger language, but I'm prone to agree.
I thought you were going to say you would go for something else. I was like,
Yeah, I think Atheist Airwaves could take the opinion that it's totally messed up if you sexually assault someone in a park or anywhere for that matter.
I still think totally messed up is too soft.
Too soft.
Yeah.
Unlike Gaylord, who has the opposite problem.
Let's move on from this.
Okay, yeah, let's definitely punch out of that one. So speaking of sex freak religious people, Hamza Yusuf is an American Islamic scholar and a founder of Zaytuna College, which is an Islamic liberal arts college. This week, he was on a panel discussion at George Washington University about the status of minority Muslims in non-Muslim countries. The moderator of the debate noted that pornography and sexual materials are commonly found among the belongings of suicide jihadists, which prompted Mr. Yusuf to proclaim that, in fact, Western pornography is what drives young Muslims to blow themselves up. He said that young men become deeply defiled by all the pornography, and I really want to know what kind of pornography that they're watching, because like the stuff I'm watching, I just feel kind of defiled.
Not completely.
Well,
There's still some wiggle room.
Next time you need to feel defiled, just call me again.
Okay, I'll call you, Jay, and you can tell me what I can watch to become
I'm
deeply
not going to tell
defiled.
you what you can watch.
Okay, so the West has so much pornography. And then they blame the West for that culture of defilement, and that they turn to jihad for religious purification and redemption. Yusuf said, quote, "I really think that we underestimate the amount of people that have this experience of wanting to restore some kind of purity to themselves, and the only restoration for them is blowing themselves up and getting rid of the part that is the source of my defilement, which is my body." The conversation continued from there, and I'll kind of talk about what he said next, but I wanted to stop there and just say, I have no doubt that happens. Like, zero. This makes complete sense to me. But I don't think it's the pornography that is the problem. It's the religion and the culture that tells them that being a sexual person is wrong, that having sex is wrong, that thinking about sex is wrong.
Makes you a pervert.
Yeah, it's the defilement culture that's the problem, not the culture of, hey, you're a human being. You're going to dig on other people being naked and doing naked things, or partially naked, or, wearing... Okay. I'm just
Say damn.
I was going to really get...
This week on Erotica Corner
Save
on
it for
Atheist
post-show.
Airwaves. Like, jeez.
We could talk about that in post-show, because I'm sure that there are plenty of common things that people... Okay, never
All
mind.
right, let's talk about that in post-show.
But I think that's the major problem. It's the cognitive dissonance, not the pornography. Pornography is not evil. Someone disagree with me. Do it.
No, I agree.
Consensual pornography is not evil. I agree.
Revenge porn, not so much.
Yeah, okay.
That's going into different
And evil isn't the
territory,
word
though.
I would use anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the moderator, though, disagreed with his porno theory of jihad and noted that polling data shows that peaceful Muslims cite religion for the reason that they're against jihad, but jihadists and their supporters almost always cite politics. And Yusuf disagreed with the results of those polls, saying that, quote, they're always going to tell pollsters that crap. They're not going to say the real reason I decided to get into terrorism was that I was watching pornography 24 hours a day.
But isn't that why some people get into the priesthood, though?
Is it?
Go from watching porn to diddling little boys. It's not.
I haven't heard that, but I mean, that makes sense to me, too.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think there's any evidence for your claim or Yusuf's claim. I find them both very amusing. But
thank you.
I'm saying both make total logical sense to me. I mean, I can totally see. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up in the Catholic Church, and there was plenty of masturbation guilt in my house, in my community, at school, and it was
Guilt about masturbating in school?
Yeah, I mean, there's like, dude, put it away, and I'm like, stop shaming me. I'm almost done.
You get off in the shame.
No, but I'm
That's
gonna
a
say,
thing.
like seriously, like when I was very young, masturbation was like, practically torture.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
So I can totally see. I mean, there were all kinds of. I don't even want to talk about it.
This is horrible.
Oh,
it's so
bad. Jesus, stop watching.
Threesome with Jesus.
I mean, I almost don't want to talk about it because I'm hugely embarrassed by it, actually, which is weird because I don't get embarrassed by it a lot.
You think dumb things then.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember making deals with God about it.
Sure.
It's like,
Really? You chatted with him and be like, hey, buddy, I'm going to do this, but...
Not tonight. Yeah. I'll just touch it a little. I have to make sure it's clean.
Oops, it went off.
Isn't that always the way? Everyone thinks they're a responsible gun owner, but, I don't know. So, like I said, there's no evidence for his position, but it makes a lot of sense to me given my... I mean, the fact that they find this stuff on these guys and, given my own background, understanding the, a culture of shame, I think that it goes back to the fact that it's politics and religion. So politics gives you the motive and religion gives you the justification to do the awful things you want to do to further your political motivations.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Let's move on. I want to skip the next one and go to your story, Jay.
Okay, so we're going to go back to depressing?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Back. Let's just stay there. Let's wallow it until our fingers get all pruny.
Nice. Okay, so best I can tell, this story is pretty cut and dry, and that's not a pun, because this is really fucked up. We haven't heard, it's not that we haven't heard it before, but I'll just explain it. Mom decides one night that her son is going to have to deal with the pain and suffering of life. She doesn't want that for him, so somehow that means that she has to kill him.
Not somehow. I think that logic is impeccable, but go ahead.
Okay, sure. Well, whatever. I'm glad you can...
I condone her behavior.
She goes to his room while he's sleeping. She bashes his head in with a rock and then stabs him to death. That's the story. The one question I have about it is, why was his sister not included in this? Why was she spared?
He had a sister.
Sister was at home sleeping as well.
I guess we know who Mommy's favorite is.
I mean,
it's the son who got sent to heaven.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you get to sit here in this shithole, you little bitch.
Well, I mean, wow.
Well, seriously, I mean, isn't that what she just told her daughter?
Basically, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that, the whole original sin thing comes in there. If there's any logic, or if in her head there's logic that says, she's a female, so she needs to deal with this, or she's, I don't know. I don't know.
That doesn't make.
The son was worth saving, but the daughter was not.
Something like that. I don't know if there's some sort of, deep-seated psychological thing that drove her to kill the son and not the daughter, or if she's just fucking crazy.
I was going to say, so I'll bet you it has something to do with the father and not with the son. I'll bet you the son's death probably hurt the father more, and that's why she did it. I'm just guessing. But I will say that like I said, her logic is impeccable. She sent her son to a much better place according to her theology. And she won't pay much of a price for doing it because all she has to do is repent. And so it's a win-win. If you actually believe that this stuff is true, you should be doing this stuff. The only thing I find questionable about her behavior, given her belief system.
Okay, I'm saying you might want to clarify that because I'm looking at you going, dude.
Obviously, this is awful and you should not kill your children.
Thank you.
Atheist Airwaves in no way recommends killing your children because heaven doesn't exist. But the only thing that I find about her behavior to be questionable, given her theology, is her use of the rock.
She had to stone him to death.
What the hell? No, even if you just give me the knife first. Just, knife. That's the ow. What are you doing?
Well, it depends on how big the rock was and how hard she hit him.
I don't know.
He might not have ever woken up. That might have been the best way to go about it.
I'm kind of curious what Franklin Graham would have to say about this.
Way
to bring it back, buddy. Way to bring it back.
I like it.
I just want to throw this out to Christian mothers. Maybe just mash up some, sleeping pills and give them an overdose before, and then just give them the knife. The rock to the head thing, that has to be a lot. That has to be a lot of.
Again, it depends on how big the rock was and how hard she hit him.
Look, we hate you, Jay. And did you see how many times it took Amanda Stevens to bring up the nerve to just all out kick you in the balls?
I don't understand that.
This is how people work. People with
This is how normal people work.
Well, she wasn't trying to kill me. If she was trying to kill me, she probably would have been like, wham! I don't know.
Anyway, I want to talk about your balls in post-show, by the way.
So much sexual stuff in post-show. Again.
I know. Well, that's...
Does anybody remember what we're going to talk about in post-show?
Yeah, I got some of it written down.
Pain Olympics and...
We're not talking about Pain Olympics. You're going to Google that on your own time.
You're Googling that,
and what else was it?
Apparently I'm a sexual deviant.
There was something else.
Sexual...
if torture is...
We're going to talk about if torture was effective, would it be okay to engage in it? And I have something I want to talk about. Our theist caller, Steve, from last week. Listening to him again, I had some thoughts that I want to just bounce off people. So that's what we're going to talk about. Let's move on to Ohio Public Schools. This is a really, really weird story to me and just kind of gross.
It is kind of weird. So there's a new mentoring program that is, of course, funded with taxpayer dollars that requires all Ohio school districts to partner with a faith-based organization, which obviously means a church, and a corporation in order to have access to the public school money. Republican Governor John Kasich, thank you, has instituted the program in order to mentor at-risk students and, according to the initiative, failure to incorporate a faith-based nonprofit will eliminate a school district's eligibility for the taxpayer funding.
Believe it or not, that guy was a on-air pundit for Fox News before he became governor.
Really?
Yes.
I never would have believed that.
Right. It sounds like they got this in by stealth because the church requirement isn't in the bill that they passed. It wasn't in any of the testimony in the Ohio House while they were debating it. It wasn't in any of the speeches the governor made while he was promoting it after it passed. He didn't mention it while he was signing the bill at the ceremonial thing. Mm-hmm. This is just something that popped up while he was telling them how they're going to implement it.
It's like, oh, by the way. Somebody was asked about
Jesus Christ. No, I don't lie. Dude. He Googled Pain Olympics while we're sitting here. Would you please turn that off?
That is horrible.
You motherfucker.
What's always during my stories, you asshole.
Sorry, go ahead. We'll talk about this in post-show.
Please turn that off. Okay. Dude. I told you no.
So
bad, Jay. Bad.
So much age.
Go ahead.
You didn't have to freak out.
No, I did. I saw it.
Oh my God.
Show Turpin.
No!
Let's show her in the post-show. Let's move on.
All right.
I hate all of you. Oh, I hate all of you.
There is not enough bleach.
So whenever the governor was asked about the program and the initiative, his spokesperson said, "The governor believes faith-based organizations play an important role in the lives of young people. The good Lord has a purpose for each and every one of them, and we're helping them to find it."
Oh, kill me now.
Okay.
Wow,
That was easy.
Yeah, right.
You want to go find a rock?
No.
I'm sure there's knives here. I'll find it.
I do have to say though, if I'm an atheist organization in Ohio, I am all over this. I mean, I'm sure that it's going to be a Christians only club. I'm certain that that's the only kind of organization any of these schools are going to be partnering with. But I would be trying, and I would be suing when I'm denied all over the state.
I really don't think it matters. I don't think it matters one way or another. I think this is something they could sue on no matter what.
Yeah.
They don't have to do anything on it. Bringing the faith-based stuff in order to secure funding is going to guarantee a lawsuit that they're guaranteed going to lose.
And the fact that they're so open about that it is entirely the governor's idea, that it is completely faith-based. Buddy Harris, who is a senior policy analyst for the Ohio Department of Education, actually had said, "Any partnership that dares exclude a faith-based group will not qualify for public school tax dollars because faith is clearly at the heart of the vision of the governor."
Oh, well, good. I'm glad the governor supersedes our Constitution, but no. I hate the United Way as an organization. I just dislike their tactics. They also fund the Boy Scouts, which I find abhorrent. And they have for years, while at every freaking workplace I've ever been to, they've been trying to extort money out of me. And, they give me this BS story about, oh, you can just say that your money can't go to the Boy Scouts. I'm like, no, if I don't want it going to any organization who's even supporting discriminatory organizations. And so Salvation Army, right behind them, United Way, don't give them any money. But this guy is crowing about it. He's so flippin' happy about this faith-based thing, and it just makes me feel gross.
I just want to get blow up in his face, soon, so we can just relish in his...
Laugh and laugh.
Relish in his misery. That'll be great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You want to talk a little bit about some of the events we have coming up before we wrap it up?
This week, this Saturday is our karaoke night. If you're wanting to join us for karaoke, it's at Barton Street in
It's going to be a big one.
That's what she said.
I think a lot of people are in town who haven't been for a while, and a lot of people are planning on going, so you should probably come to that.
That'd be cool. I'm going.
I'm going as well.
Yes.
Should we? Okay. That was. I don't know. This is the whitest moment in Atheist Airwaves ever. Should a high five?
Fist bump.
What is going on?
It would have been better if I had switched and you had switched at the same time.
We'll work on our white people routine.
Paper over rock. Yeah.
We're also going to have
Saturday's karaoke.
Yes, that is Saturday at 8:00 at Barton Street out in Flower Bluff. We're also going to be participating in the Christmas tree recycling. We don't have any information on that yet. If you have any information on that, please let us know. And then on January 27th, we are going to be having our interview with Ophelia Benson. She is a blogger and the author of Does God Hate Women? Spoiler alert, the answer is yes. God does hate women. So if you should read along with us, if you have any questions for her, we will be getting the questions more towards the showtime.
Have you started reading that yet, Jay?
Yeah, dude, I finished it like last week.
Okay, that's good. I was telling, and I'll warn everyone else in the audience, if you want to read this book with us, it's only 270 pages.
It's super easy to read, man.
Okay, all right. Well, I haven't started yet. I just got it in the mail yesterday.
No, it's a really easy read. You'll be through with it in a couple hours tops.
I'm madly trying to free up disk space on my computer so that the recording doesn't stop.
It's really more of a pamphlet.
Okay. Well, it's like 270 pages and really small print. So get it soon because we have 5 weeks, but if you've got a job, that might present some
impede.
Problems. Yes.
And also a reminder, patreon.com/Atheist Airwaves. You can help sponsor us, get access to our post shows every week, which we really love talking about some awful stuff.
Susan's Deviancy, the Pain Olympics, which you just heard me freak out about. Lots of really horrible stuff. But we're also going to talk about our theist caller and some serious stuff. So it's a little bit of head, a little bit of butt. All right. So I
A little
want.
bit of head, a little bit of butt, really.
Oh, that's
Anyway.
like.
It's
now
like
that
the
I say that,
meetups.
yeah. Well, that's what I was going for. But now that you say that, like, wow, that sounds really awful. Like, I love how. So, like, that's what we always say at Corpus Christi Atheist meetups is that one side of the table is always talking about really, really serious, weighty issues. We call it the head end of the table, and the other end of the table is talking about farts and stuff, and that's like the butt end of the table. But when you say it that way, it's like the sophisticated, intelligent part of Corpus Christi Atheists. That's the oral sex part.
The disgusting and perverted part is the ass.
Right.
The
The
rectum.
anal sex, which is weird now that I think of it that way, and I will never not think of it that way.
Cool.
All right. So I wanted this next story in our lineup just because of the reaction of the theists to this guy. Video just surfaced. Did I? Okay, good. Video just, I thought I skipped ahead for a second. Video just surfaced of Tracy Jones, who is a Pennsylvania atheist, talking in front of the Chester City Council. He's talking about why prayers are inappropriate at city meetings, and I love what he says. But the thing that I want to highlight is the audience reaction to what he's saying. So listen for that.
I like to address this. I'm an atheist.
Why is this not going on?
And I, as a higher being, and the fact that we have a prayer.
That's really super weird. Why is that? Oh, I'm soloing it. That's why. Let's try that again.
I like to address this. I'm an atheist, and I don't recognize a higher being. And the fact that we have a prayer before we have these meetings, I find it uncalled for, unless you respect everyone. I mean, you have Muslims here, you have other denominations. I mean, if you want to start the meeting with all those people, I mean, that I can respect that, but as an atheist, I appreciate if you don't open up with a prayer.
So the sheer amount of shock and dismay over something that I really consider just completely
bland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's making a great point.
Yeah,
He's
but-
calling for people to be respectful of other people, and there's just so much butthurt in that room.
He could have been a little more eloquent about it. I could have been more eloquent about it than
I
he
doubt
was.
that.
But, I mean, he was, I don't think his delivery, had he gone about it a slightly different way, say, look, all I'm asking for is your respect. Just like I respect you and you respect everybody else, just respect everybody. I mean, maybe there would have been less butthurt, but I doubt it.
I don't even know what you're talking about because I think he was fine, and I don't think that he said anything crazy or badly. He was just. I agree with what you first said. It was bland. It was, you should just be respectful of other people, and then people were just like, what? How dare you tell us to respect non-Christians?
People don't like being told that they're doing something wrong.
Especially not when it violates their own Christian privilege. They're like, well, no, we're not doing anything wrong. We're the majority.
I, for one,
I think that's a real good imitation of what's going on in the background, actually.
That was surprisingly accurate.
The one guy in the background is yelling, "Come late," telling the guy to show up after the prayer is over. And I think that really tips their hand. I mean, it shows that what they're really about is creating their Christians only club. They don't give a damn about anybody else. They're like, this part of the meeting is not for you, so you can just go to hell. And to me, that just tells you that, for me anyway, the decision the Supreme Court made in Crease v. Galloway is just wrong. It's horribly, horribly wrong.
We've known that from the time it came out.
Yeah, but I mean, I just wish that, it could even be okay if it wasn't for the fact that what they're saying, what the decision says, which is you can pray as long as you don't discriminate, is great. I think it's the opposite of what I would say, but I mean, it's fair. That's fair.
But nobody's going to...
But no one does that.
Yeah, no
it's
one's
Christians only. Almost everywhere. This place is no different. They just want their Christian stuff, and they are outraged if anyone suggests that other people should be included in their little prayer time. I don't get it. Instead of telling us to come late, instead of telling us to
come after the prayers,
show up after the prayer, maybe they could say their prayer at home and just leave it out of the government business altogether.
But we were founded on Christian.
Oh, you go to hell.
You can suck it.
Go to hell.
Suck it.
We've got time for like one more. Do we want to talk about the GOP guy, the Jesus for Health?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking everybody. What do we want to talk about the last
No.
topic here?
Not politicky ball.
That's more Jesus ball, but
Yeah, it is a little more Jesus-y.
I'm not talking. It's not my story. I don't give a shit.
you want to talk about it, Susan?
Cool, yeah. So former Navy chaplain and Colorado State Representative Gordon Klingenschmidt.
Who we've talked about on this show, and I
name sounds
only know that because that name, you can't miss it.
Can I call him Klingrap?
Yes.
Sweet. Yes.
But don't use that for oral sex protection because it's not effective.
It's not a dental dam.
This man is not a dental dam. Let's go on record saying that.
So he's a Republican, of course, who has compared Obama to a demon and claimed that Obamacare can actually cause cancer. He's now saying that we should look to God rather than the government for our health care.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. I personally prefer to look to Almighty God as my healer and not to the government as a substitute God or substitute healer, Klingrap said on his Pray in Jesus' Name Project TV program before launching into a prayer that this nation would repent of worshiping President Obama as if he is a god.
Yeah, this guy's so crazy. I take this back to the first guy that I said, $20. A machete shows up and it's aimed at his neck. He's all, oh yes, Allah, Allah.
I thought you were going somewhere else with the $20.
That's true too. But this guy, if it came down to it, if he got sick, he's going to a hospital. He's not praying to Jesus.
No.
He is gonna go, even if it's a government-run hospital, he would choose that over a church.
And then he's going to give credit to God.
Exactly.
Right, exactly. It's the ultimate, win-win scenario for them. It's, I'm going to take advantage of this thing that I just told you doesn't work, but then I'm going to pretend that it was this other thing that I'm telling you that totally does work.
Totes. So believe it or not, this guy has actually said some other really stupid things that
I don't believe it.
he has made the Colorado Republican Party want to distance itself from him before.
No.
I don't believe it.
So in addition to the comments about President Obama and the Affordable Care Act, he also accused Colorado Democrat Jared Polis, who had made history by being the first gay congressman to become a parent, accused him of wanting to execute Christians in the United States. And Ryan Call, who's
execute
Christians in the United States.
Let's hear the guy out.
I want to go on record to say I didn't say that. That was Christian.
I know, right? It's really weird.
Interrupting him. I love it. It's all that gay sex we're having.
Yeah, it is.
So it's Ryan Call,
it's
who's
sexually transmitted disgustingness. Sorry.
Why does this always happen? I just want to finish the story.
So sorry,
go ahead and try and talk again, to Susan. Sorry.
Reach over and mute all of you.
The sound of your voice just makes me think of cool things to say. That's all it is. Here, I'll mute us and you just go and you finish the show by
You're going to accidentally mute me.
I'm being good. Go ahead.
Fuck off. So Ryan Call, who's the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, said Gordon does not speak on behalf of the Republican Party. To suggest otherwise is inaccurate and dishonest.
I think that's right.
You can unmute your mic, asshole. Go fuck yourself.
Wow, it's gonna be a bad post show. Wow, everyone's so aggressive.
The anger.
I think it's because of Jay watching the Pain Olympics, which you should not do. Do not under any circumstances.
I think
we're about to
quiet
talk about
since
that.
then. Don't do that. All references to that should be edited out.
We're going to talk about that in post show. We
That's
really are.
awful.
No, I've got something interesting to say about that.
Oh, jeez, that's
Anyway,
not good.
Go ahead.
I think we're done.
Are we done?
Let's call it a day.
Okay, thank you for listening to Atheist Airwaves. We're sponsored by the Corpus Christi Atheists and the South Texas Coalition of Reason. If you would like to contact, complain, commerce, commiserate,
What
any of
he
those things.
said.
If you would like to compliment, complain, or make suggestions, if you want to talk about something, have us talk about something, email us at god@atheistairwaves.com. And thank you again to Tombstone the Dead Man for our outro music. Please don't forget to visit patreon.com/atheistairwaves. And you can get cool stuff like access to our post show for as little as $1 an episode.
And under no circumstances should you Google Pain Olympics. Don't do it. I'm sorry I brought it up.
Spoiler alert, it's not that bad.
It is that bad.
It's not.
You haven't gotten to the cleaver part.
Let's go.
No thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Being a skeptic means so much more than being an atheist. And until you accept that, you won't relate to this. That cognitive dissonance that you experience is when there's things you claim to believe in but ain't living it. Most of you say you are the type to question everything until I hear the conspiracy theories that you echoing. And when I scrutinize the things you try to say are lies, expose your sources as suspect, I see your logic dies. Some still believe in pseudosciences, engage in special pleading when theists use the exact same reasoning. I've even seen atheists use arguments from ignorance and seem oppressed to tell me exactly just what the difference is. A skeptic without the ability to analyze is just as bad as a theist, cause he'll probably accept a lie. Just as long as it verifies all his biases, applying it to his knowledge pool, and then he's diving in. So I'm not saying that some conspiracies do not exist. I'm just saying that a lot of them are some bullshit. So I'ma call a spade no matter who asserts that nobody's perfect and just one lie, then it's all perverted. Bring down the curtains on that sad display. The only ways to question yourself and all the things you say. Start the day. And maybe we can rise above and be examples for others that emulate, and that's the way we win this battle. So this is where I'm making my stand, and now regardless who don't like it or how they get mad, see why the rest of y'all capitulate and go with the plan. I'll be beating on this wall until I'm breaking my hand. So listen while I state official policy. No matter how I'm threatened with hell, then never silence me. I know that you don't see this as imperative, but I refuse to lose and let the stupid frame the narrative.
I know, property values suck right now, apparently.
Yeah, she's going to be unemployed and homeless in Austin. It's gonna be awesome.
I will totally wait tables again. I do not care. Like...
Hold on, I got to stop
You will.
recording.
You will.